Low vacancies, high rental prices and an ever-increasing population here in Western Australia has resulted in a housing affordability crisis, especially affecting the low-income earners who are desperately waiting for their chance to find a home they can afford. More than 12% of all Australian households experienced difficulty paying rents last year. Each year, Anglicare runs a rental affordability snapshot, and once again, it has found that the private rental market is too expensive for people on benefits, pensions, or a minimum wage. Less than 1% of rentals in Perth were found to be affordable to people on government pay, and only 3% were affordable for families on minimum wage.
Well, there are a number of reasons why rental affordability is so difficult in Western Australia. The first one is that we have an increasing population and we simply can't build the houses that we require for the population as it grows. So we have a situation where there's increasing demand for a lack of supply. That situation has been compounded by a historical lack of construction of social and affordable housing, particularly public housing. At the moment in Western Australia, there's about 1 million residences that we consider, and only about 40,000, a little bit more than 40,000, public housing. That gives us a percentage of 4%, and really, when you compare that to other major nations around the Western world, we're way below in our numbers of public housing. One of the big issues that we're confronted with is the increasing price of housing, which is being driven by an investor bubble. So if you think about the federal government, the federal government contributes more than $8 billion a year in tax savings and other treatments to investors in residential accommodation. Now for that $8 billion, we haven't seen any movement in rental affordability. What in fact it is doing is it's pushing up the prices and making it harder for people to buy a house. The other thing that we have is we don't have sufficient mechanisms to get people out of public housing. In Western Australia, there's about 28,000 people on the waiting list for public housing, and each year, somewhere around 2,500 to 3,000 people move into public housing. So we have a rump of people who are on a waiting list who aren't able to get into public housing.
1 in 10 Australians are under housing stress. House prices have increased 147% in the past decade, more than twice the rate of wage rises. The number of home buyers under 45 has decreased by 15% over the past 2 decades.
Heidi Tabos is a single mum with 2 children who says it is impossible to make ends meet in a normal rental market.
I live off a pension. I couldn't live anywhere. It's impossible to rent anything. And I have 2 small children. I just don't want to have to put them in daycare every day or after school care every day because I need to make the money for a full-time job. So I got the chance by living in a co-op to study. And I'm finishing a diploma of accounting soon. So I wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for a co-op. I would have just had to go out and have some really just crappy job to make sure I make ends meet.
CEO Rebecca Hicks of Cooperation Housing says rental housing cooperatives offer an affordable, sustainable alternative to both public and private housing to people such as Heidi.
Cooperative housing is a community of people that live in separate houses and self-manage on a collective and voluntary basis all aspects of their housing tenancies. Cooperative housing is an alternative public housing model, so we are so different in the sense that we have the self-management aspect. Housing cooperatives are part of the public housing and community housing system, so they're focused on tenants with low to medium income levels, and tenants in our housing cooperatives will pay no more than 25% of their annual income in rent, making it very affordable.
I think that with cooperative housing, we need to educate the public as to the benefits, as to why it's an economically and socially sustainable model. In that we're not seeking handouts as such. It's a viable solution to providing a helping hand for people to be able to reintegrate into the community, teach them and train them with very robust and life-based skills which help them reintegrate into the community and to contribute positively.
4 member co-ops ranging, we've got 1 in Bunbury and 3 others here in the metro area, 2 in Freo. we target low to medium income earners. Co-ops cater for all sorts of people, so we've got mums and kids, seniors, people with disabilities, people from different cultural backgrounds, and we find that co-ops really attract diversity within their membership base. WA is experiencing a housing affordability crisis. It's very hard for people to access rental homes or to purchase their own homes, so the people with low to medium income types are really suffering very poorly, and I guess the government's finding it very hard to manage that number of people.
I think it's not only the rents, it's the insecurity. Like, I've got security of tenure here. So the moment I moved in here, I know that I won't be kicked out because they want to sell the place. You know, it's really the security that was one of the main issues for me.
The situation we have at the moment makes life very difficult for a lot of families, and they just struggle to get by. And we think as a community and as government, we need to work together to address those issues.
I'm Azyan Arzelan reporting for Undercurrent.